Today on the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement.
We are going to discuss financial stability and what it means to you in retirement.
And on our Coach's Corner, we want to discuss the 5 retirement sins that you cannot commit.
And on our Chalk Talk segment today, we're going to discuss how to conquer the 5 retirement sins so that you can be successful in retirement.
So sit back, relax, and learn. The Chad Slagle Show starts now.
I'm Chad Slagle. I believe financial planning is about educating people and empowering them to make better decisions with their hard-earned dollars. Coaching gives me satisfaction from watching a player succeed and get better. You need an experienced team around you. The best coaches have great assistant coaches. I have brought a lot of the techniques and structure I learned from playing and coaching football and applied them to the world of investing. My goal now is to coach as many individuals and families as I can on how to get successfully to and through retirement.
Welcome into the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. I'm Wendy Erickson here with the coach, Chad Slagle. Today on the Clipboard segment, we want to discuss financial stability and what it means to you in retirement.
That's right, Wendy. Financial stability is a term that most of us are constantly struggling with. And for many people, it could mean different things. When my wife and I first got married, I was running this business out of the back of my Chevy pickup truck, and she was starting her master's degree. So financial stability for us was just putting food on the table and being able to cover our rent. To now, with our first of 4 children entering college, it's about being able to pay for their schooling and to get them on the right track to start their adult lives. And for a lot of you today who are retired or are thinking about retirement, financial stability is not to go to work anymore and still have this income coming in to support your lifestyle and dreams that you have for the next 25 to 35 years, and to know you don't have to worry about running out of money, knowing that that income stream will always be there.
Wow, this is a really timely topic for me because I'm about to become an empty nester this fall. It'll be just my husband and I, and it's a new change of life, a new phase of our lives, I should say, and it's really just going to be about him and I. Empty nester, I always heard that term, and here it is. It's really different, and we have to worry about, we're getting closer to our own retirement. We're pre-retirees.
Yes.
And we need to make sure that we have the plan that you always talk about in place so that we can enjoy as we head into from pre-retiree to retirement.
Yeah, it's constantly, you get out of college, the plan's to raise the kids. Now, 20, 30 years later, now the kids are raised. Now it's this next phase of, really planning for being an empty nester, but then also planning for that next phase of retirement. And that's our job as financial planners and retirement specialists, is to guide our clients and respective clients on that journey through retirement. You don't have to go it alone. And that's what we want to talk about today. We want to discuss the 5 retirement sins, or really the 5 mistakes that you really cannot afford to make if you want to be successful in retirement.
Yeah, because everyone out there is in a different phase. We talked about the phases we're in. So
yes,
we all need somebody that we can trust to guide us through. And we all need to make sure that we're not committing those sins that we're going to tell them about today.
Absolutely. You don't want to be a sinner.
That's right. Well, when we return on the Coach's Corner, we are going to discuss the 5 retirement sins that you cannot commit. We'll be right back.
The number one concern of retirees today is outliving their hard-earned dollars. It is more important now than ever to educate and empower yourself to make better decisions with your money that it has taken you 30 to 40 years to accumulate. How do you do this? By using our Financial GPS, our guided planning system. This is a 4-step process to help get you successfully to and through retirement. The first step in this process is to create clarity. Here we will help identify your goals as well as your concerns and identify what you want to accomplish in retirement. The second step, we will analyze the risk you're taking with your current portfolio, and this step will also identify exactly what you are paying in fees. In the third step, we will evaluate and assess your current plan and help identify the gap between the missing pieces. And in the fourth and final step, this is where we will work together to implement a plan of action to accomplish your retirement goals. And this process can take place at any one of our convenient locations in Missouri and in Illinois. So call now to get set up on that right path on your journey through retirement.
Welcome back to the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. We are back with the coach, Chad Slagle, and his colleague, Chad Tobin. And today on the Coach's Corner, we're going to discuss the 5 retirement sins that you cannot commit.
We've all sinned or made a mistake at some point in our lives, but the timing and the magnitude of those particular sins or mistakes are what makes the difference between those sins being detrimental or not. What do I mean by this? Let's say you're planning for college, a wedding, or your first job. Do you think it is a good idea to make a mistake during those milestones of your life? Probably not. Now think about retirement, which today is like having 25 to 35 years of unemployment. Would you rather live those years enjoying yourself or stressing out because you didn't prepare enough prior to retirement? Well, if you make too many mistakes or sins before or during retirement, you could not succeed in retirement. So today, what we want to go over are some of these important retirement sins or mistakes, and later on, we will show you how to conquer each one of those 5.
Well, and I think Chad and Wendy, we all agree that the best way we learn is through making mistakes, but in retirement, that's the last place you want to learn and make these kind of mistakes because it can really be detrimental when you're wanting to enjoy these years stress-free.
All right, well, let's jump in and talk about the first sin.
So the first one is counting on Social Security, pensions, and other traditional plans. Social Security, of course, is projected to pay only about 75% of the scheduled benefits 15 years from now or by 2034. Pensions, as we talk about all the time on this show, less than 20% of American workers today are retiring with a pension, and that number is dropping all of the time. And of course, traditional plans or other retirement plans from work, such as 401ks, 403bs, etc., these are great vehicles to get you to retirement, but they are not set up to get you through retirement.
Yeah, and I think, looking at these kind of things, a lot of times we see people that are just so dependent on these, the Social Security they're going to depend on, hoping their pension's going to be there. And, we often hear when some of these things aren't there in retirement, we hear that, boy, I wish we would have started saving earlier. And that's one thing we don't like to hear at all.
Absolutely.
All right, well, the second sin is something that I know I've been guilty of in pre-retirement stage, failing to have a budget. I bet this is a big one for other people too.
It's a huge one because, like you said, Wendy, when you're working, you really don't think about it. You adjust your lifestyle to the income you have coming in. But not only is it important to have a budget in retirement, but also understand what kind of budget you will have during your working years. If you know how much you're spending when you're working, you can help translate that over to when you retire. The problem is, though, there's an old rule of thumb that says when you retire, because people ask us all the time, how much income do I need to have coming in? Do I have enough to retire? And their answer is we don't know. But there's an old rule of thumb that says you should have 70 to 80% of your pre-retirement income coming in when you retire. So if you're a married couple bringing in $100,000 a year, you should have $70,000 to $80,000 a year coming in. I totally disagree with that. What I would tell you today is what we find with the majority of our clients is they need the same or more money coming in. So they need 100% because they've adjusted their lifestyle. As you said, Wendy, you're now an empty nester. So for the next 10 or 15 years, you're going to build a lifestyle and you're going to adjust your lifestyle to that income you have coming in. The last thing you want to do is when you both retire is to have to do with less. So it's really about building that game plan and building that lifestyle that you're used to and making sure you have that income coming in.
Yeah, and I think you often say, when you retire, every day is a Saturday, which means that's every day you're out there enjoying and spending money. And another thing I would add to this point is failing to have a budget. A lot of times we see maybe the spouses are dependent on one of the spouses taking care of this budget. And if something were to happen to that spouse, now all of a sudden everything's set in the lap of the other spouse that may not have even really been involved in the budget. And we see that. So it's so important to kind of really communicate that budget between the two of you.
All right, and the third sin you say is ignoring inflation.
Ignoring inflation, especially when it comes to health care costs and long-term care costs. I'm sure all of you know the general concept of inflation, and you already have a sense that today's budget might look different 10 years from now simply because of rising prices. But one of the fastest expense impacting retirees today is soaring health care and long-term care costs. According to Fidelity, out-of-pocket costs for health care during retirement is $280,000. 5 years ago, that same healthcare cost was $220,000. So that's a 27% more in just 5 years. And of course, we talk about healthcare, long-term care. You know, we have 10 to 12,000 people turning 65 every day. These numbers are soaring at enormous rates.
Yeah, and I think if you look at what your $100 would have paid for 10 years ago versus what that $100 is going to pay for today, you know, we can expect that same kind of inflation cost to also add to these numbers. And this is the most expensive kind of planning part in retirement, is when you try to build that plan for health care and long-term care costs.
All right, what about retirement sin number 4?
Number 4, not having a post-work plan. What I mean by that is a plan for retirement. Most people figure that this out as they go and do not really plan or think about this until they actually do retire. But again, when you retire today, less than 20% of American workers have a pension. So now, when you retire, as I mentioned earlier, it's like having 25 to 35 years of unemployment. You know, if you're 3 to 6 months from retiring and you're thinking, you know what, I'm okay, I'll just wait till I retire to start building a game plan, and all of a sudden, the market drops 20%. Your $1 million 401k just went down to $800,000, and that's a huge adjustment that you have to make. That's why we talk about, Chad, it's so important to start planning before. Usually, a good rule of thumb is 2 to 3 years out before you retire. You definitely don't want to wait till that time comes. And it's about building that written retirement plan. That way, you're not reacting with emotion, you're reacting with logic.
Well, and I think you often talked about, you know, we've mentioned retiring to something, and we also mean, you know, having a post-work plan is, you know, you're retiring to something. And a lot of times we see people, once they retire, you know, they feel like they've won the game, they feel like it's over, game over, and they've won. But the fact is, as you just mentioned, Chad, you've got 25 to 30 years of retirement or unemployment. You need to be retiring to something.
All right, and the last one is procrastinating.
This may be the biggest sin, is procrastinating and waiting until you actually retire to build a plan or start thinking about retirement. And this is one of the biggest milestones of your life, if not the biggest. So you cannot neglect retirement. You cannot put it off and say, well, we're too busy. Well, we're going to wait. We got to take a trip. When we come back, we'll start planning for that retirement. Then it's too late. So to me, it's not a time for excuses. It's a time to be proactive and to build that plan.
All right, well, to download our free white paper today about building a roadmap to retirement, visit schlegelfinancial.com/empoweryou. Good information there. Coming up on Chalk Talk, we have more. We're going to discuss how to conquer the 5 retirement sins so that you can be successful in retirement.
Hey, let's go.
He's such an involved dad. He's always telling the kids stories. I remember when so-and-so said I couldn't do this, or I didn't make this team.
Everybody in here.
That's what drives him. In our family, we always tell our kids to stick up for each other, stand behind one another. He feels it's his role to provide, keep us safe, and to make sure that the kids are taken care of. A lot of Chad's clients have the same traditional values, and he bonds with them. Each family has a different set of circumstances, and each family is unique and different. The common thread between all of Chad's clients is that they want the best for their family, just as he would our own family.
Welcome back into the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. So we just went over the 5 retirement sins that you cannot commit. Now we want to show you how to conquer each sin so that you can be successful in retirement. Sounds good.
In order to grow in life, we have to make mistakes, and it's not our successes that drive us, it is our failures. We learn from our mistakes. So some sins or mistakes are bigger than others. So if we fail or mess up, they are magnified and can hurt us mentally. But you have to get back up and make changes for the future so you can get better and so that you can be more successful. And the sins that we just discussed are very important things that you do not want to mess up in retirement. However, if you've already made some of these mistakes, it is okay. You can make changes now, or if you have time and have not made these sins or mistakes yet, the time to act is now so that you can be successful in retirement. So now in Chalk Talk, we're going to show you how to conquer the 5 retirement sins.
Yeah, and I think it's so important. You know, a lot of times this can be so difficult or seem so overwhelming when it comes to retirement and kind of going through some of these checklists. But we want to kind of keep it simple and help you understand some very basic things that will help conquer these 5 things in retirement.
All right, so the first sin was counting on Social Security, pensions, and other traditional plans. How do we conquer this one?
Well, number one, do not depend on somebody else to take care of you. The time of depending on the government or your employer to take care of you are gone. You need to be proactive and build a game plan and not react to what happens in the market, the ups and the downs, and don't chase the market. And make sure that you're working with a retirement specialist who can help you find the right vehicles to use for retirement. Because these vehicles that you've been pumping money into in your 401ks, your IRAs, and your retirement accounts to get to the point where you can even thinking about retirement are good vehicles. You needed those vehicles to get you to retirement. The problem is, though, if you continue to invest in the same vehicles that got you to retirement when you retire, those could be the same vehicles that blow you up in retirement.
Yeah, and I think, all of us know 2 things when it comes to the stock market. The market goes up and the market goes down. And, if we have all of our retirement dollars invested in the market that is going to be going up and down through retirement, we have to understand that we can't have all of our money there because it's not timing the market, it's time in the market. And in retirement, our time horizon has shortened a little bit.
All right, the second sin was failing to have a budget.
Yes, ma'am. A budget is very, very important. In other words, what we call is knowing your number. You need to know how much shortfall. In other words, if you retire and you have $2,000 a month coming in from Social Security and $1,000 coming in from a pension, but you need $6,000 a month to live off of, what that means is, Wendy, you have a $3,000 a month shortfall. That money has to come from your own personal investments, from your 401k and your other retirement accounts. So you have to build a plan where that $3,000 is going to come in, or whatever that number is. It's going to come in each and every month for the rest of your life and the rest of your spouse's life, no matter how long either one of you live.
Well, and I think at the end of the day, if you have that budget, you know your number, you're going to fit that retirement lifestyle around that income coming in and maybe some of the extra income. Hopefully you're not having to plan for this shortfall that we just talked about and you have a surplus of income coming in, but you have to have that written retirement income plan to have that peace of mind as well.
All right, we move on to sin number 3, which was ignoring inflation.
Yes, ma'am. And the other thing is you want to make sure that you build a game plan for health care and long-term care. Because when we talk about inflation, that's one of the biggest unknowns, that it continues to increase at enormous amounts each and every year. And you absolutely need to build a plan that plans for, again, the health care, but also the long-term care cost. Health care, depending on your situation, maybe a Medicare supplement to help with what Medicare does not pick up. But when it comes to long-term care, you have 3 options. Either you're going to pay for it out of your own pocket. Number 2, you go out and buy long-term care insurance. Or number 3, you have life insurance with a long-term care rider. And the biggest thing is you have to understand, in our area today, it's $8,000 to $10,000 a month. Just think about what it's going to be 15, 20 years down the road. So it's really about having a plan for if something happens to you or your spouse when it comes to long-term or home health care.
And I think one thing we've seen is everyone's different when it comes to what they believe that plan should be in their portfolio. But it's so important. This is the one thing that a lot of times people don't want to talk about. They don't want to really plan for. We talked about procrastination earlier, but it's so important. This is the one thing that you have to check off that checklist and have a plan for.
Also not good, not having a post-work plan. That's a sin. What do we do?
Yes, you need to understand is when we talk about that post plan, as we talked about, what does life look like? Ask yourself, what do you want to do in retirement? What kind of lifestyle do you want to have? And we talk about all the time, Wendy. I ask people, if you're working, what day of the week do you spend the most money? And for most people, it's Saturday. Well, when you retire today, every day is Saturday. So there are countless resources available to retirees, free classes, exercise groups, volunteer opportunities, mentoring programs. So you have to think about, when you retire, do you want to have that second home? Do you want to travel? Do you want to spend time with your kids and grandkids? You have to think about what kind of lifestyle you want to have and what kind of income you have to have coming in to support that lifestyle.
And the last sin, procrastination.
Do not procrastinate. Simply put, do not do this. Do not wait until the last minute to start preparing and planning for retirement. There's no excuses. Do not wait until you're already retired to start building that plan. However, if you're already retired and you really don't have that plan and you know that you need to have one, the thing is you need to act now. Don't procrastinate. Don't put it off.
All right, good information once again. To download our free white paper about building a roadmap to retirement, visit slagelfinancial.com/empoweryou. When we come back on our strategy play, the Chads are going to show you a retirement checklist that you need to follow in order to be successful in retirement.
The number one concern of retirees today is outliving their hard-earned dollars. It is more important now than ever to educate and empower yourself to make better decisions with your monies that it has taken you 30 to 40 years to accumulate. How do you do this? By using our Financial GPS, our guided planning system. This is a 4-step process to help get you successfully to and through retirement. The first step in this process is to create clarity. Here we will help identify your goals as well as your concerns and identify what you want to accomplish in retirement. The second step, we will analyze the risk you're taking with your current portfolio, and this step will also identify exactly what you are paying in fees. In the third step, we will evaluate and assess your current plan and help identify the gap between the missing pieces. And in the fourth and final step, this is where we will work together to implement a plan of action to accomplish your retirement goals. And this process can take place at any one of our convenient locations in Missouri and in Illinois. So call now to get set up on that right path on your journey through retirement. Welcome back to the Chad Schlegel Show, coaching you to and through retirement. On this week's strategy play, we're going to show you a retirement checklist that you need to follow in order to be successful in retirement. And in my opinion, Chad, this retirement checklist is non-negotiable. If you do not have each one of these checked off on your retirement game plan and something goes wrong, then the only person to blame is you. So that's why we want to go through this in detail and show you each one of these. First of all, number one is you want to make sure you have a written retirement income plan or game plan for retirement. And we talk to people all the time, and the big question is, do I have enough to retire? Can I retire on time? Will we be able to do it? And the thing is, you have to build that plan to see. Now, we run into people all the time that have the assets to be able to retire. The problem is, though, all these assets, you may have an IRA, a 401k, a different qualified, a non-qualified account. You have the assets to retire, but these assets are not working cohesively together to accomplish your goals. So that's number one, having that written retirement income plan. Number two is you need to know your money. You should know exactly to the penny what you're paying in fees for your investments. Also, what you need to know, though, is risk. In other words, if this market has a 15-20% correction the next year, you should know the way your portfolio is set up right now, how much money you would lose.
Yeah, and I think it's so important. You got to know your money. You got to know how comfortable you are with taking risk. You also, if we're going to be retired for 25, 30 years of unemployment, we can reduce the fees and save 0.5% or so. That keeps a lot of these dollars in your retirement plan for income in the future as well.
And number three, health care, long-term care. You need to have a game plan for your health care. Of course, you need to make sure you have the health insurance when you turn 65. Medicare becomes your primary, your Medicare supplement becomes your secondary. So make sure you have that Medicare supplement plan set up. Also, for long-term care, you need to make sure you have that game plan. Either it's paying for it out of your own pocket, which I don't recommend, having long-term care insurance, or the one that we lean towards would be life and long-term care. That way, if you pay into it 20, 30 years, your family's not out all that money. That money goes to them tax-free. Number four, Chad, we talk about that post-retirement plan.
Yeah, and I think, we often we talk about climbing a mountain. A lot of times you get to the top, you think you just won, and the game's over. But now all of a sudden you look down the mountain, you got to get back down somehow. So, we talk about retiring to something. Have those goals. Have a vision of what retirement's going to be like, so you retire, you have that post-retirement plan.
You have that lifestyle, then you adjust your income to that lifestyle, and make sure you enjoy retirement. And number four, of course, that legacy plan. Hopefully, this money lasts throughout the rest of your life. You're using the interest off of money. For the most part, you're protecting that principal. And when you decide to walk out on life, you want to make sure your assets and your hard-earned dollars are passed on to your children, your grandchildren, your churches, whoever your beneficiaries may be, in the most tax-efficient manner, as opposed to having that money go to the government or to a nursing home. So you want to make sure that you have that legacy plan set up.
Yeah, and I think, the loved ones, leaving that, making sure that plan is clean so it's not a mess when you do walk out on life. You have that legacy plan set up so you can be remembered.
Are you committing any of these retirement sins that we discussed today? Do you need help building a game plan to conquer these retirement sins or mistakes? If so, we encourage you to give us a call today, and that's this week's Strategy Play.
Thank you, gentlemen. If you have any questions about today's show, or if you'd like for us to discuss a new topic, email us at askchad@slaglefinancial.com to have your questions answered on the show. And we'll be right back with some of the key takeaways from today.
Coach Chad Slagle and join.
I'll be with you guys in just a few minutes.
When it comes to your health, your life, your family, your home, and your hard-earned dollars, of course you want to make sure you're working with that sharp, energetic, knowledgeable individual that is always looking out for your best interest.
Such short notice. Appreciate it.
Thanks. It's time to get your financial house in order. This is the new age of retirement planning. In the Wall Street world, that's what they talk about. You got to have equity.
Back into the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through
We
retirement.
are Slagle Financial. Call now, 888-294-9248.
Welcome back once again to the Chad Slagle Show, coaching you to and through retirement. We've covered a lot today. What would you say are some of the key takeaways, Chad?
Number one, Wendy, do not depend on someone else to take care of you in retirement. Do not depend on your employer and do not depend on the government. Number two, understand the 5 retirement sins and know how to conquer each one of those. And number three, do not procrastinate when it comes to building a plan for your retirement. Be proactive. Build that game plan now.
Another reminder to download our free white paper today about building a roadmap to retirement. Visit slaglefinancial.com/empoweryou. Well, Slagle Financial and their team of advisors have educational events coming up in your area as well to make sure you are prepared for today's retirement. For more information and to sign up for one of these events, call 888-294-9248 or visit chadslagleshow.com.
Remember, folks, success is waking up in the morning, whoever you are, wherever you are, no matter how old or young you are, and bounding out of bed because there's something out there that you love to do, that you believe in, that you're good at, and you can hardly wait to get at it again today. At Slagle Financial, realize that this is bigger than our team. It's about educating you, the public, and their wonderful clients, and empowering you to make better decisions with your hard-earned dollars. From my colleague Chad Tobin, my co-host Wendy Erickson, this is the coach, Chad Slagle. Thank you very much for joining us. We look forward to visiting with each and every one of you next week.
Clothing for the Chad Slagle Show is provided by AL Custom Clothiers, a custom men's clothier that understands the value of offering our customers the best for less. ALCustomClothiers.com or 314-570-6000.